Before this video starts, if you enjoyed this video, there are many more like it already on the channel with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 125,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I'd really appreciate it. I upload daily on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent basketball talk, this is the place for it. Also, drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second. It makes a massive difference. Also, real quick, I have a new video over on my film channel about who was the better Spider-Man between Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland, so go check out that video if that's something that interests you. But yeah, on with the video. Recency bias is a hell of a thing. Bias in general can really go in any direction in sports debate. To many, the players of the past are infallible and players today just can't hold up. To some, past players are relics of the past and the current players are miles better. Some people can be stubborn about admitting when a player or a team has reached another level, like people who act like Luka Doncic hasn't proven he's a top 10 player yet, or ESPN not considering the Miami Heat a top 5 team in the league. And then of course there's bias from being a fan of a team, hating a team, and all of those things can be annoying, but one thing that annoys me more so than anything else is recency bias. It tends to be the most annoying because, well, it also tends to be the most recent. Because it's more recent, I can see someone have a player here 1 week and then next week they have one game, either good or bad, and then they change their perception of that player completely, and it's like, I know where you had them last week and this is not enough to change that. And recency bias was pretty damn rampant in the 2020 NBA playoffs and in the bubble in general. I'd say it was the most rampant it had ever been, but that would be recency bias. So today I wanted to go over the recency bias in many of the narratives that came out after the very interesting 2020 NBA playoffs. I'm not going to be pointing to really any exact concrete examples, really just general opinions. If you follow basketball and basketball debate to the degree that I do, you'll know what I'm talking about most likely. But let's get into it. Now, I do want to make something real clear right out of the jump. It is okay to make adjustments to where you rank players and where you rank teams based on the playoffs. That's the most important area for all of basketball, and I sure as shit did not have the Miami Heat as a top 5 team before they made the finals. As a matter of fact, here's some evidence of me putting my foot in my mouth, as I often do.
Yeah, they can make it out the East, and I'm pretty confident that they can.
For me, it's Bucks, Celtics, Raptors.
No, it's Bucks, Celtics, Miami.
No, it's not Miami. It's not Miami.
Yes, it is.
It's not.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Maybe.
Yeah, bro.
It is. Hold on. Miami is definitely over the Raptors.
I guess I should have known that take was a mistake when I agreed with Agent Zero instead of Legend of Winning, but oh well. But I'm also planning on releasing a top 50 player list that's updated post 2020 playoffs, and that's because a lot of players have moved up and down in my list as a result of the playoffs. I don't feel the same as I did about Jamal Murray back a couple months ago as I do right now, and that's perfectly valid. Basically, my point is, adjustments are fine, just don't push it too far. Now, of course, that is subjective in itself. This could be viewed as me being too stubborn with moving a player, just like I mentioned in the intro with Luka Doncic. But this is all subjective, and none of this really matters because at the end of the day, we're talking about a game about an orange ball when in the grand scheme of things, the universe doesn't matter and we are Scripted existential crisis is not easy. We're all just specks of dust in a giant universe of billions and trillions of specks of dust, so nothing matters. On with the video. Let's just get into some takes. So let's just address the first 3 out of the thumbnail, as they are really just the main ones that were annoying me. AD is now a top 3 player, Kawhi Leonard is no longer a top 5 player, and Paul George is not better than Tyler Hero. These are obviously extreme examples, but of course, I had to get you to click on the video. Anthony Davis had a remarkable playoff run, and he has rightfully received a lot of praise for said run. However, I feel like this has gone too far for too many people. There are people genuinely making the claim that Anthony Davis is better than Giannis because of this run. They look at Giannis versus the Heat, how he fell apart while AD averaged 25 on 57, 42, 94 splits. And on the surface, that is valid. However, I would argue, while yes, Anthony Davis did benefit versus the Heat quite a bit from having, as the kids say, a deeper bag than Giannis, I think that pales in comparison to how much he benefited from his second best guy being LeBron James instead of Chris Middleton. The guy that was supposed to help keep the pressure off of Giannis was like the 20th, 25th best player in the league, and Anthony Davis's was the best player in the league. And if you ask me, there's no question that the Lakers win a title if Giannis replaces AD, and if you ask me, there's no question that AD would lose very similarly to Giannis if he replaced him on the Bucks and they played the Heat. It's fine if you want to move Anthony Davis up a spot or two. I have moved him up into my top 5, but to me, it is very clear that he is not better than one of LeBron, Giannis, Kawhi, or Steph Curry. I don't think it makes much sense to put Anthony Davis in the conversation with those players yet. I do think it is relatively close between AD and Giannis, but until I see an MVP level season from Davis, I have no reason to rank him over Giannis. Kawhi Leonard got a lot of flack from NBA fans after he had a piss-poor performance in Game 7 where he was obviously needed because he blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets in the process by having that poor game along with the rest of the Clippers. Now, again, I'm going to make the disclaimer that it's perfectly fair to move Kawhi down a spot or two, especially considering that LeBron just pretty much effortlessly won another championship. I had LeBron at number 2 behind Kawhi before the playoffs, but I moved him up after the playoffs. However, people took this a step too far to where I was genuinely seeing people say that Kawhi wasn't a top 5 player. When I asked for hot takes on Twitter for a video, I saw that comment a few times, and just in general, I've seen people act like Kawhi just sucks now because he had the first major playoff underperformance of his career. Like, Kawhi had a pretty much spotless run in the 2019 playoffs, but then 2020 comes around and he has one bad game, and then suddenly he's not top 5? After one game, now he's overrated. Now, don't get me wrong, it's probably the worst game that Kawhi could have played as bad as he did. Actually, it definitely was, because he dropped his title hopes right there as he lost the series, obviously, and the Clippers needed him now more than ever. I would argue a lot of that failure is more on the Clippers relying on him so much more so than Kawhi failing, but at the end of the day, Kawhi did fail. But regardless of that, an entire player's ranking from top 2 in the league to now no longer top 5 is not based upon one game, no matter how important that one game is. And I made a bunch of these points on Twitter, and I had some LeBron fans come from my neck saying, what would you be saying if LeBron did this? Or what would people be saying if LeBron did this in a Game 7 and blew a 3-1 lead? And I know this isn't really related to this video, but I kind of have a rant about this whole mindset. LeBron being treated unfairly does not mean every other superstar player in the league should be treated unfairly. Like, the problem is that LeBron is overly criticized, not that players like Kawhi aren't criticized enough. It's a double standard that says LeBron gets a bunch of crap, not that everyone in the league should get a bunch of crap on top of that. But anyways, the next example is Legend of Winning made a poll on his Twitter at the height of Paul George sucking and Tyler Hero killing it, as well as Kemba Walker sucking and Tyler Hero killing it, where he asked who was better between the two, and in both polls, Tyler Hero won by pretty much a landslide. And this, of course, is one of the more egregious examples of recency bias. However, I also do want to point out that there is a degree of memeing here. Like, I almost voted for Hero on the Paul George poll because, let's be real, it's fun to clown on Paul George. But I still think there were people who genuinely felt that way at the time, or even still feel that way. Now, I don't have all the time in the world to explain why this is incredibly stupid, but I will say enough to make sure this video gets to 10 minutes. I understand that Paul George had a horrible streak in this year's playoffs, had games where he absolutely did not show up, and this was just further evidence of an issue with him throughout his career, with him being a playoff choker. So add his struggles onto his history of struggling, and people really dogpiled on. But I think, again, they push it too far to the point where they're claiming that Paul George is just a scrub. Now, once again, I will point out it is fine to drop a guy a few spots, and even a good handful of spots in the case of Paul George, as a result of what he did in the playoffs. I doubt he's any higher than, 18th in the league for me at this point, and it's probably lower than that. But just don't push it too far to the point where you're saying the guy is a straight up scrub, because he absolutely is not. Really, that's the main point here. Just don't push shit too far. Look at the body of work, the former seasons. Has this player really gotten worse, or did they just have a bad couple of games? Or the reverse of that. Has this player really gotten better, or was this just a couple of good games? Just try not to be too reactionary. Think, is this the final straw for this player, or does this player have more room to not make mistakes, or is it just time to write them off? I think this postseason was the final straw for a lot of people for Paul George, which was fair enough. But applying this to, let's say, Giannis, people are straight up writing off a two-time MVP 25-year-old because of 2 questionable playoff series. Like, chill the fuck out, guys. Adapt based on new information, but do not treat new information like the end-all be-all. There is previous stuff there that needs to be taken into consideration when ranking a player, ranking a team, moving a player up a few spots, moving a player down a few spots, etc. As for some other quick examples, people treating Jamal Murray like a bona fide superstar because he had a crazy playoff run. Yeah, he has clearly reached a new level, but please slow your roll for a second. People being very critical of Kemba Walker and also saying that he should get more criticism because if Kyrie did this, he would. But the thing about that is, and again, this is not entirely related to this video, Kyrie actively invited that criticism by being so vocal about his disdain and his issues with the Boston Celtics and things of that nature, and Kemba Walker has always been nothing but a good teammate and kept his mouth shut. So he doesn't get criticism for bad games because he doesn't ask for it. I understand Kyrie gets overly criticized, but that's not a double standard. That's just how he acted versus how Kemba has acted. Damian Lillard was suddenly a top 5 player and better than Stephen Curry because he had a good couple of games in the bubble. Just calm down. At this point, I'm just rambling because I don't know how to end this video, but yeah, I'm ending it now. Go check out that Spider-Man video. It was a really fun video to make, and if you want to go call me an idiot because I don't have the same opinion as you, that's a perfect place to go do it. So that's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.